Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Old Soul Club with myself, Larry Braggs, Dr. Soul, and also with my sidekick, my partner in crime for over 35 years. Y'all all know him as the Pope of Soul, Mr. Phil Redmond. How you doing today, Phil?
Dominus Patri, my brother. Doing just fine. How are you, man?
I'm good, man. Like Draymond Green say, the real media, you know. You know how that is, brother.
Yeah. And this is our adventure in discovery. It started out as an idea. Larry Braggs has done a lot of things, seen a lot of faces, and he rocked them all. And he shared a lot of stages with a lot of different people. But it's not just about who Larry Braggs is and what he's done.
You know, this is where we talk about, music, my experiences, just music experiences with other people, my journey, my thoughts about, the industry now. And it goes along with my partner in crime for over 35 years, my main man, the Pope of Soul, Mr. Phil Redmond.
Hello and blessings be upon all of you in soul and in peace. How you doing, brother?
I'm Larry? Good, man. I'm very good. I'm very well, brother.
I see, might as well say that today's podcast is brought to you by our sponsor. That would be one Mr. Larry Bragg Coffee.
There you go, man.
Because when you got to get up early in the morning, find you another love, try some Larry Bragg's coffee.
Yeah, man, a smooth, soulful roast. Hey, you can get that coffee, man, at concertcafe.com. Please go to concertcafe.com. Order yourself some Larry Bragg's dark roast coffee. It's called that smooth, soulful roast. Kind of like people say I sound smooth and soulful. I didn't say that. People said that. So there you go, man. That's our sponsor for today, Larry Bragg's Coffee.
That sounds dope, man. Traveling with you, I'm not surprised that you have your own line of coffee, seeing as every airport and every hotel that we've ever stayed in, that was always a big thing that you needed to, a situation that you needed to have straight,
Yeah, man, I love a good cup of coffee, man. And my man, my drummer that I play with a lot, Mr. John Simon. He's a coffee purist, or just he just loves coffee too, man. So John, he hooked me up with a cup of coffee at his house, man. And I was like, John, that gourmet shit, man. It was so good. And he's like, man, John's he's so mild-mannered. He's like, man, I just love a good cup of Joe. So when I had the opportunity to get my own coffee, I jumped on it, man, and it's available on Concert Cafe. And there's a lot of other guys on there too that has coffee, but actually just go get Larry Bragg's coffee, and you can try all the other ones too, man. A lot of other people have coffee on there, but I want you to get the smooth, soulful roast. Yeah, so get that. Also, I like the Bootzilla brand by Bootsy Collins. That's on there too, man.
Right on. Right on.
That's so cool, man.
Get your camera here, baby.
Yeah, Bootzilla's here. Yeah, so, hey, man, so what's happening today, man? What's going on the podcast today? What we got going on, brother?
Man, I'll tell you honestly, B, this has kind of been on my mind for the last few days. It's 2022, right?
Correct.
And there are many, many wonderful musicians out there that are playing their hearts out,
Yep.
Coming on the wake of Silk Sonic, and even before Silk Sonic was Silk Sonic, it seemed that everyone understood that the best way to pay homage to our roots, our heritage, our culture is through soul music. The blues is always going to be the blues, and gospel is going to always be gospel, and neo soul and beyond. But what cannot be denied is that the root of that whole tree, all of those branches, the root is soul. And I've been thinking lately that if it doesn't have soul, then what do we do with that? As a musician and as a producer, I can appreciate everyone's artistry and the time that I know it took for them to reach a point where they can play behind someone like a Corey Henry, or snarky puppy. And that's great. But I grew up watching performers, Otis Redding, performer, Al Green, performer. We're not even going to talk about the greats. Jackie Wilson.
Those were greats you just mentioned. What are you talking about, man? Hell, the greats. Those were greats. I mean, don't get much greater than that,
I guess I meant to say the obvious ones, that everyone clung to, like Jackie Wilson.
Yeah, you probably need to drink some Larry Bragg's coffee so you can catch up.
I probably do.
No, but you know what, man? Let me just, if you don't mind, I don't want to disagree with you, but I just want to correct something. To me, the roots of that all started with African tribes and the African music.
Agreed.
Our African heritage, because none of that would happen without all of those chants and Africana, rhythms and things like that. It's with the drum, and it all started with the drum. And then we came over here. When we were brought over here, man, it morphed into us singing in the fields, and not just singing. Those songs were messages to like the other slaves at the same time. So those Dr. Watts and those things you hear, and when Harriet Tubman was, started to bring people through the Underground Railroad, those songs were songs of, hey, these are messages. They weren't just songs they were singing in the field. Now, they were singing because they were being, depressed and oppressed, oppressed by slave masters. So some of those songs was relief, and they morphed into gospel hymns. And then that morphed into, and I'm just moving ahead, the blues. And then that morphed into soul. After, Ray Charles took that with a few other artists and morphed their gospel, religious, secular music into soul. And that soul morphed into R&B. R&B morphed into that Dixieland down in New Orleans. That New Orleans jazz sound. Please do not, chastise me for saying Dixieland. That was the wrong word. That New Orleans jazz sound, and then from there, the jazz just continued to go on, man. And now we have today. But people don't like to talk about the oppressed side of it, which is what happened during slavery and those songs we sang down there. When you heard people in the field just singing, those Dr. Watts, as my mother called them, man, that stuff goes way back, man. And it was hunting. But those words were messages to let the slaves know, we're going to be getting out of here later on. So if you're going, you got to be here. There was they had quilts that they would make, and they would lay these quilts out. But those quilts had messages on those quilts to let the slaves know where we're going to be meeting, what time we're going to be meeting, what route we're going to be taking, where we're going to be at.
What?
Yes. This was all, man, going on during the Underground Railroad. Songs, messages that the white master could not recognize. No, nothing was happening right up under his nose. These things were going on. These quilts and these songs, letting these slaves know when we're leaving. And if you got in the way, that was your ass. Forgive my language, man. But that, and that morphed into soul music, man. All that morphed into soul music. And soul music, people don't realize, soul music is sang from the depths of your inner self. James Brown. That was soul music, man. That was soul.
That's exactly what I was trying to say. You said it so much more eloquently, my brother. But you answered all of my questions. I did know a lot about what you were saying about him starting in the fields and it being coded messages, but I didn't know about the quilt thing.
Yeah, man.
Being instructions and a map, and I'm sure somewhere in this country of ours, there's I should say great country of ours, that there is a museum somewhere that has these quilts on display.
Well, people have to visit the Black African History Museum up in DC. You got to go visit that museum, man. It's amazing. If you get a chance, you got to go see it.
Yeah, my sister went there once, and she said it was a transformative experience.
Yeah, you cannot see it all in one day. You have to have a few days to get through all of it, man, so you can soak it in. You can realize what happened through all these years, man, all these centuries, and why we're here, and why people are trying to, suppress and hide real history from us. The music, all of that, man. It's not just us. It's all people of color, man. Think about it. Black folks, Latino folks, Cuban folks, man, people from the Asian community. These rhythms, man, are from people of color, and you put all those rhythms together, man, it is like something to hear, something to feel. And that's really soul music, man, because all those rhythms are from people from color. And we all have that same thing when it comes to those rhythms. Talking drums, that was the only way of communicating back in the day, man. You hear those drums in the distance, those war drums, man. And
yeah.
Hey, man, look here, man. Look here. What you talking about, bro?
Speaking of that's your ass.
Yeah. Hey, what are those Indians called down in New Orleans doing the
you talking about the Creoles?
No,
the Creole Indians, the Apple.
I can't think of the name, but oh my God, it'll come to me.
Don't worry,
man.
we're gonna catch.
We'll catch it up, man.
Edit.
But that used to be. Well, now it's a festival, right? It's a festival,
right.
But in the beginning, those Indians, man, had those drums, and they were war drums, and they'd be coming through the neighborhood, and you hear those drums. People would grab their kids up, get in the house, close the door, because all they were doing was bloodshed, man. They were just fighting tribes and tribes. And to the point where some of the chiefs got together and said, listen, it's too much bloodshed. Let's do this another way. And that's when they started having those festivals, man, with those big, beautiful costumes, man, that they would make. Yeah. And I'm still trying to think of the name of the festival.
Yeah. Man. Let's go down the rabbit hole. Let's see. It's Mardi Gras.
Well, it happens in Mardi Gras. So yeah.
In Mardi Gras, you want to be a part of a crew. And if you're a part of a crew, if they make you chief, that's a pretty big deal.
Oh man, what you talking about, bro?
Still can't think of the name of it. It'll come. We're gonna catch it.
And it's a shame because you're from Louisiana. I'm ashamed of you right now.
I'm ashamed of myself.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here right now. I'm embarrassed. It's on the tip of my tongue. I'm still way back on Larry Bragg's coffee. Okay, if I had some, I probably, once again, ladies and gentlemen, the Old Soul Club is brought to you by Larry Bragg Coffee.
That's funny, man. That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
I'm just saying, I'm not as sharp, but I do have a question for you.
Yeah, go right ahead, man.
Loving the history lesson, but see, this isn't just it's called Old Soul Club,
right?
But I got some questions and some queries.
Right. We got the family of people that listen to the show, so that's the Old Soul Club right there.
So if I could represent people who are listening to the podcast,
yes,
my question would be, when did that history become a joyous form of communication? When did soul become fun?
Well, man, music has always been a release, It's always been a release for everyone, man. People go to a concert. I mean, you can have people outside and they can't stand each other on one day, but then a concert comes and you got thousands of people in a room for 2 hours watching a concert, and they're all on one accord. They're all enjoying the music. They forgot about all the troubles that they've had at work today or what's going on. They don't have any. They don't know if they're going to find a job or whatever, but you put them in that concert setting for that 2 hours. They can forget about all the noise outside of the room, of that building, and just enjoy the music. So it's timeless when we listen to some of these old songs, like older songs that was played, man, by some of the great people like, Al Green, James Brown, Wilson Pickett, all these guys, man, Luther Vandross, who's the singer, and all these guys, man, my favorite, Peebo Bryson, who I was talking about on my Instagram, but man, all these guys, some of these songs you hear from these guys back in the day, they put you in a certain place in your life and you just go, wow, I remember when. And when you go to that concert, you're there and you're in that moment. Frankie Beverly and Mays featuring Frankie Beverly, hasn't written the song since when? 1986? Something like that. And every concert sold out because that music, I don't know what he does with the formula of the songs that he writes, but for some reason, he's like the Black Grateful Dead, Frankie Beverly, man. Frankie Beverly is going
hit the nail right on the head. Yep.
He's going to sell out regardless, man. It doesn't matter if he can sing because Frankie's getting older. His voice is not what it used to be, and everybody knows it, but nobody cares. They go, Frankie, we'll sing the words. You just show up. That's all they want, man.
Believe me, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to this podcast, I am a witness. I grew up listening to Frankie Beverly and Mays, or Mays featuring Frankie Beverly, as they used to have on the album covers, every Saturday while cleaning up the house. So one of my proudest moments was to be able to take my mama to a Mays concert. Now, she had seen them before, but I hadn't had the chance to take her.
Yeah.
So it was first class all the way. And don't you know, we got to that arena and Frankie couldn't even sing and nobody cared.
Nobody cares, man.
Nobody cared. He came out and he said this thing, I'm not having a little trouble, y'all know. And here's my mama. We know, Frankie, don't worry. We got
don't
you.
Worry about it.
We got you covered. Happy feelings.
Yeah, man. Frankie is the man. All he got to do is say, I've got myself. People don't care. They'll sing the rest of the song. Frankie, we don't care. We got you.
To remind me of love.
Yeah, man. Frankie, man. I mean, and you'll see this whole audience of just folks of color, Black folks, doing electric slide, all, in one accord, man, just going back and forth. And I watched that. Lord. I watched the Frankie. You want to see a Frankie Beverly show? Go to New Orleans and watch it in New Orleans.
Oh.
If you really want to get that full experience, go to the Aretha Franklin Theater and watch the Frankie Beverly and Mays show there. Oh my Lord! What a show! What a show!
That was one of the biggest selling albums, wasn't it? Wasn't it?
Yeah, man.
That live album that everybody had in their collection was recorded in New Orleans.
Think about it, man. It's the trilogy. You go to Louis Armstrong Park, go into Aretha Franklin Theater, and listen to Frankie Beverly. Come on, man. Come on, man.
So you get me to that place that I wanted to get to on today's episode, today's podcast, the sheer joy that soul music, and by when I say soul music, it's the old soul club. But the thing is, I'm not excluding any other genres of music. I'm not, and you tie them together quite well. But I love music, and the joy that I both got from music as a consumer and then eventually as a creative, a seller, that's not the word I'm looking for, as a contributor to music. I got joy on both sides. Participant, that's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
As a consumer and then as a participant, you get the same joy, or just much. You were just talking about Frankie Beverly. I was getting goosebumps,
Yeah.
And that's. I'm not going to say that's what's missing today. I'm just going to say it has been my dream for about the last 20 years.
I am going to say it today because the music today, even though the music is great and there's some really creative people out there, and I'm just going to say it, but the music today does not move you like the music of old. Now, I don't know if because we don't have people going through as many things now. Like right now, we have the toxic soul music, and it's all about, that, the people just been going through a lot of changes when it comes to, all this shutdown and COVID and all that. And you got a whole lot of toxic music coming. That's what they call it now, toxic soul. But it still doesn't reach the level of the soul music.
Like Marvin Gaye?
Like Marvin and, from the 70s and back. Because, 70s music, it's good to be 40 years and back, but it ain't good to be 20 and 30 years back because that music doesn't have the same.
It's not the same.
It's not the same. I mean, it's not the same, man.
If you're trying to get a message across and you're wearing hammer pants,
I mean,
something's gonna get lost in the translation.
Nothing's wrong with the 80s. The 80s music had its place, man. It was great. It was a whole transition.
It was fun.
Everybody out the 70s and 60s was getting off drugs. So then here comes the 80s music. You know, I mean, we had Cameo. Are you kidding me? We had The Time. Come on, man. We had all those groups like that, man. You know, we had Hall and Oates, man, the Blue Eyed Soul Brothers. I mean, come on, man. We had some great music in the 80s, man. But that music still doesn't compare to, and we had stuff like Chic in the 80s and all that kind of stuff. The disco era was kind of coming in, man, and all that kind of things. And the Gibbs brothers, all that kind of stuff was there. Tower of Power was in the 70s, but then like in the 80s, man, you had Chicago still reigning on that end. They had, all those hits they had over there,
Yeah.
So, you had the Eagles and all that kind of stuff, man, in the 80s and all that music, even though they were back, but they kind of like transcend over to the 80s and all that. So the 80s had some great music, man. So you can't not knock the 80s, but it was a different type of music than the 70s. The 70s, man, just for some reason that music, soul music, it touched your soul. Now, Mr. Walsh, bless his heart, I met him and I told him, man, you're my favorite. He said, Larry, you don't want to be like me, man. You don't want to be like me. Be calm. Love him, man. Love that guy. It's great. I got a chance to meet a lot of those guys on the road, and it was really fun. Really fun, man.
Yeah. Well, you managed to leave an imprint of your own on the road. I'm pretty sure you're aware of it, but I'd like to share a story where Larry and I had spent a week basically holding a week-long clinic on how to play funk with a group of lovely ladies called the TOP Queens. And as a treat at the end of the week, they took us to see Luis Miguel.
Yes.
You remember him?
Yeah, man.
Luis Miguel.
Yeah, man. That's soul on the other side.
Yeah, you told me he was the Tom Jones of South America.
Hey, man, look at, we're at a concert and there's 20,000 women and him and his band is on stage. We the only two dudes in the audience. Who don't love?
We were the only two dudes.
Who does not love that concert? Are you kidding me?
We were in a soccer stadium. We were the only two dudes there.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
But as what happens with us a lot, no matter who you're playing with and no matter what level you feel like you're on, creative spirit recognizes creative spirit. And out of all of those 20,000 people, Luis Miguel's tour manager found us in our seats and said, hey, we'd like to take you guys backstage after Luis Miguel is finished. And of course, it had to be translated for us.
Well, Phil, it wasn't that hard, 2 raisins in the buttermilk,
You know what? You got a point. But I'm going to get to my point. My point is, so here we are, I'm trying to paint the picture for you people.
Yeah.
And there we are, 20,000 people. We get invited backstage. And for me, it's like, this is a thing that usually happens. I'm going to tell them how much I enjoyed the show. He enjoyed the show. And we're walking by one of the dressing rooms, and I hear in Buenos Aires, Argentina, Larry? Is that Larry? That always amazes me, man. That always amazes me. Just the fact that our community is so in tune with each other.
Well, it always amazes me too, man. I mean, I've been blessed, being at, the great horn band Tower of Power. And, for 14 years, we were rolling like 200 plus shows a year all around the world. And then, the Temptations and all that, 5 years, we rolling like another 150 shows all around the world. So I've been blessed, man, in my short career to actually, man, make some kind of imprint. And I'm hoping that I, even with that, man, I've made some difference in some folks' lives and touched a few people, man. And just to be remembered and recognized is very cool, man. But I'd rather be recognized for the things I'm going to do and make the world better. If I can do that, that's what I'd rather be recognized for, the stuff that I'm trying to do to make the world better. But, it's cool, man. That's cool.
The next thing I would like for us to touch on is moving forward. We were talking about performing. We were talking about putting the soul in the performance. The question is, if you see a band that has the same instrumentation as Bruno Mars's live band, Killing Band, or Silk Sonic, the amalgamation of the two bands, you see them performing Bruno Mars's arrangement, note for note, but it's missing something. And it's not necessarily Bruno's voice, because the lead singer is, decent lead singer. All of the guys are hitting the notes, and it's been perplexing me that what is missing in it. And I don't want to be one of those people that just say, "Oh, it's a black thing, you wouldn't understand." I wouldn't say that at all. But I think if there's anybody who can put a finger on that, I think it may be you. Got any thoughts?
Well, I'm going to put it to you this way, man. I personally don't think it's missing anything because of where it is. It is what it is. It's not missing anything. I mean, this is a new era of music, and he's gone back and taken some of the original music from the 70s and 80s, and he's updated it to now. So it's not missing anything. It's just been retooled to fit music today. And he's a phenomenal performer, phenomenal singer. And, his band they're all young, and they're incredible musicians. So I don't really think it's missing anything as far as, it's nothing at all, man. It's amazing stuff. I mean, everybody doesn't get it. I do. I understand what he's doing. I mean, could I do it now? No, I can't do that now. I'm past that. Bruno Mars is like, he is the entity of what the big productions of performances are right now. I mean, he went back and took a 70s groove and made a hit, with a 70s groove. And everybody who are musicians from our era know things like that. That dude took a 70s hit, updated it, and made $1 trillion on an old groove. And he's just music. It goes around every 6 months. It revamps itself, basically. So every 6 months, you see music recycle and come back around. Somebody did something from the 70s. They put it up here in 2000. Somebody did something from the 80s, put it up here in 2000. All it does is recycle, man. They retool it, recycle it, put it back out again. And people don't realize, but the people who are really in tune and in depth with it knows, like, ooh, that's from 1975. And I don't, to me personally, I don't think anything's missing out of it, man. It's got all the elements that it needs. It's just been updated to today. All the sounds are different. So, and these guys are being more creative with the music. And my hats off to them, man. They're taking old stuff and still ramping it up and making it cool. I mean, he redid the time over again. It just made it now,
I agree with you wholeheartedly. And I guess what I did was I didn't phrase my question correctly. I was mostly talking about a cover band doing what Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak are doing, and they have something missing. But I guess...
Well, no, in that case, I'm sorry. In that case, man, a lot of cover bands don't have the luxury. Like when we had our band back in the day, we had the Business, right? We had that band from 1986, 87 to like 95. Yep. We had the luxury of having the same 6 guys play together all the time.
Year in and year out.
Cover bands now, man, they don't have that luxury, a lot of them, to have the same guys with the caliber of the musicianship. So you see the band, but sometimes there's a lot of substitution, or guys are playing in different cover bands all the time. We played in our band. We didn't play in 4 or 5 different cover bands. We had the luxury to just play in our band because we were playing every night. We were just fortunate enough and blessed to be able to do that. So we were able to learn each other's ways, learn each other's, tendencies, play off each other, knew what the bass player and the drummer was going to do before they do it, keyboards, all that. We had that in us because we played together 365. Nowadays, you got guys that play this band over on the west side, this band over on the north side. Hey, I got another gig right after this gig, so I got to learn these guys to bring a bunch of charts. We never had charts on stage. We were that kind of
You,
people. We learn the song. Now you see guys with charts and they're reading the charts, and they got 5 different charts from 5 different bands, and they're trying to figure out, ooh, which band, which music is this, right? So they don't get the chance to really lock that music in like they want to, because they're moving around so much. I played with a guy, 2-3 years, and he was still using the charts. Now, it wasn't bad. It's just that I knew he was playing in other bands, so he didn't have time to just memorize those tunes. So that's just how it is right now, man. And you're trying to cover music like Bruno Mars with everything that's going on. Guys trying to put things on tracks and play with it. And sometimes you don't have the caliber of musicians to play that way with a track, with a click track. And the drummer is suffering. And if the drummer's not on point, the whole band is going to suffer, in my opinion.
if you were to go see the business and how they do their arrangement of, we're just going to say the obvious, Earth, Wind, and Fire, and you dare to go back to your rehearsal room and try to cop that arrangement, you better stomp a mud hole in it and do it better, or at least attempt to. It's in the attempt is what kept us all pushing each other and elevating each other's game.
Well, yeah, we were honing our skills back then, man. We were trying to I credit all that to a guy named Angelo Earl out of Memphis, Tennessee. Angelo Earl was a perfectionist when it came to, playing the guitar and his craft and building a band. He just knew how to do it. He was always ahead of the game, so he knew, hey guys, we got to put these arrangements on. We got to have these transitions in if we're going to be a show band, because, you're going to be in what they call show business back then. Man, boy, you ain't in show business. And so he had that knowledge of how to do that. And he taught all of us how to play a song and play it just as good or better than the original version of that song. So when we played it live, it better sound like a concert. And that's what we tried to do. And that was from, a band called Fingerprint out of Memphis, Tennessee. And that band morphed into the band The Business in Austin, Texas. Yeah, man. So, back to your question. This is the Q&A route section.
Take a moment to speak about your foundation.
Yeah, man. So my foundation, man, let me just tell the people, I have the Mo Sitta Music Foundation. And that foundation, man, is built to raise money for scholarships for kids. And it helps to relieve some of the pressure on families when they're sending kids that's less fortunate, that's going off to college. So we try to give them scholarships to help offset some of that cost that their parents is bearing, that burden of sending a kid off to college. So we try to do that, man, and give them some money to go. And so with that, I have my new project also, which is the Larry Bragg's Soul Orchestra. So that orchestra, in conjunction with some university students that we give scholarships to, I'm trying to bring some of them on some concerts that I do. Some of the outstanding students that we give scholarships to, when they become seniors, we take them on the road with Larry Bragg's Soul Orchestra, which is a 13-piece horn section and a rhythm section. It's the Soul Jazz Orchestra. And give them that experience of playing on the road for those who want to continue on as a performer in the music business and continue in the music business, as a live performer. So that's what the Mo Sitta Music Foundation does for scholarships with kids. And it's a working band. We work, we play. I'm going to Colorado this particular week, Saturday, the 6th of August, and playing with the Colorado Jazz Repertory Orchestra. And so that's kind of what the Larry Bragg Soul Orchestra is also. But I'm just doing this particular concert with them up there, and they're nonprofit organization that also gives scholarships out, and they do all kinds of wonderful things up there in Colorado. So I'm very honored that they're having me do a concert, and they're doing a recording also that I'm going to be featured on. So I'm happy about that. But please support the Mo Sitta Music Foundation. And Mo Sitta, people always ask me, what does that mean? it's my mother's nickname, which they called her Little Sitter, and then it's a great grandmother's nickname, which was Mamo. So it's Mo Sitter Music Foundation, and those women, they were the trailblazers, man, on taking care of people, making sure you had something to eat. They didn't have a lot of money, but they always made sure if you needed a place to stay, their homes were open. If you needed a hot meal, you can always come get one. Now, anything above that, it was a toss up, but you was always guaranteed a place to stay and food. I remember coming home from college sometimes, man, when I finally went off to college, and I'd come back to the house, and there's some stranger that I didn't know was sleeping in my bedroom. I go, "Ma, hey, who's this?" "Oh, that's so-and-so. They need a place to stay, so I let them stay here for a while, and you just sleep on the couch because you're not going to be here long." So, hey, man, and that's how she was, man. My mother she sold snowballs outside in front of the house, and we call her the queen bee of the gangsters because we lived in Chicago, on the Chicago West Side, in a neighborhood called K-Town. And, we had gangsters back then, man. They're not like the gangsters now, but we had gangbangers and things like that. We had the dope boys. But they would never bother my mother. She would always tell them, "Hey, don't bring that down here." And off down the street they would go, man. And they would pull up in their Cadillacs, get out the car, say, "Ma Braggs and Miss Braggs, I want to get a snowball." And they would give my mother a $20 bill for a 50-cent snowball. And she would go, "You buying all these kids snowballs, right? And there's no change." So that was her, man. 4'11", 4'11" man fireball. She was amazing, man. She was amazing in my life, man. So
well, it sounds like the foundation is representing both your mother and your grandmother very well.
Yeah,
now,
man.
I see you're all geared up with your Omega gear. Is that in affiliation with your fraternity brothers?
Yeah, man. Well, the foundation or
the foundation?
No, man. We have a different thing that goes on with Omega Psi Phi fraternity. I mean, this is just my illustrious fraternity that I love. It's the greatest fraternity on the planet to me. There's a lot of there's the Divine Nine, which we call them, and that's all the black sororities and fraternities. But there's the alphas, there's the kappas, there's the sigmas, there's the iotas, there's the AKAs, the deltas, the zetas, all those sororities and fraternities, and we all do great work, and everybody usually comes together when there's something for us to do. But everybody's drawn to what they're drawn to, and I think Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated is the greatest fraternity on the planet, man. And I'm so glad to be a member. I'm proud and blessed to be a member. And it's not for everybody. That's what we say. Hey, man, it's not for everybody, but it was definitely for me. And I always support my fraternity in whatever we need to do. And we've done some great things since 1911. And, we're so proud of it, man. We're so proud of it. Friendship is essential to the soul, brother.
Absolutely. And giving back to the community is also good for the soul. And you guys are standouts. Omega Psi Phi are standouts as far as all of the different things that you do in the name of community and to share with the community.
Yeah, some of the I should say the PWIs, and we. When I say PWIs, you have to it's an acronym, so you have to figure it
out. I'm sitting here trying to figure it out. Don't worry. Don't tell me the answer. Don't tell me the answer.
Predominantly white institutions. So, when
I would have got it eventually.
In fraternity life, and the PWIs, their fraternity and sororities, they're in college. Once they leave college, that commitment stops with them. With HBCU and black sororities and fraternities, when we leave college, we move to what we call grad chapters, and we continue our help in the communities surrounding us and what we need to do to help us. So when it comes to social action, we're all there. When it comes to health initiative, we're all in on that. Omega Psi Phi, we just started a new health, new mandated program when it comes to mentorships. So we're all in, man, on all of that. Voting registration, all of this, man, is it. And there's a lot of great people that's come through this fraternity and through all the fraternities. But just, this is my fraternity. This is the greatest fraternity on the planet for me. 700 plus chapters with over 100 plus thousand members around the world. So this is just my fraternity, man. Omega Psi Phi fraternity. And that's why, it's really dear to me, and I love what we do in the communities, and we're going to keep doing it. And, this is what we do. What we do, brother. But back to the soul music, before we get out of here, let's get back to that,
Back to the soul music, you were getting right down to the meat, to the bone, to the gristle, as it were, as far as the difference between, first of all, giving groups like Silk Sonic, and I can't even say Mint Condition, because Mint Condition is basically OG like we were, but some of the other funkier. You got a lot of kids coming out of Berkeley. Do you catch them on YouTube?
Yeah, man, there's a lot of kids coming out of them. It's, hey, man, listen.
There's a lot of kids coming out of Berkeley can play, man.
There's a lot of kids coming out of all kinds of universities that can play. But these kids, man, they're, everything now is instant. It's a lot of instant stuff. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Everybody wants it now. They want it now. And everybody wants to be, the fastest, the greatest. The more the licks I got, I can do it, and that's not really what music is about to its core. It's good to have all of that knowledge and that ability. But when it comes down to it, man, what is going to touch your soul when you play? There's a lot of jazz music, like Bitches Brew by Miles Davis. It's out there, but it touches your soul, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what, genre you're in. Is the music making sense to the layman ear?
Yeah.
Because musicians can hear it. Snarky Puppy, I love to death. That's musicianship at its best. But, at some point, the layman ear has to be able to understand it. Even with some of the, the odd measure stuff and the out of rhythm, out of meter stuff they're doing, and some of the, the laid and some of the over the top when it comes to like layering some of the chords on top of chords and chord structures and the out things they do and for the jazz and the syncopation. That is so cool. Some of that stuff is rooted in Tower of Power.
Right.
Just taken to put on, like on 10. You know what I mean? It's taken from Herbie Hancock back in the day when he had, what was his group?
Not Weather Report, was it?
No, not Weather Report. But even with Weather Report. But that stuff is taken, man, and it's put on the 10th power. Like, let's take it out to the fringe as far as we can go without going over the cliff.
Return to forever.
Let's take it let's take it out on the fringe, man, as far as we can go without going over the cliff, and see how much we can get away with musically. Let's stretch it to the point, And now a lot of comes from like Marcus Miller, man. Marcus Miller, the GOAT on bass.
Yeah.
Marcus, he loves bringing in these, I call them like kids off the playground.
Yeah.
That can just jump off the top of the monkey bar. Who's not afraid. I told Marcus all of his band members look like the kids from the playground that wasn't afraid to jump off the top of the monkey bar. And that's how they play music. And it's amazing, man. And he is the GOAT, and he's like the historian now of jazz when it comes to that. Him, Wynton Marsalis, these guys, Branford Marsalis, all these guys, man, these guys are like, the epitome of the history of this stuff now that's still around. Herbie's still playing, but Herbie's passing that torch on at some point,
Well, once again, I'd like to point out that you belong in that club, or you're a member of that club, because you know the value of rehearsal. You spent decades, whipping musicians into shape. I've seen you both do it over a span of years, and I've seen you do it over a span of a week. There was a time there where you and I were going out and doing shows, and we had like only days to put these guys together. So there's definitely a a spark plug or a piston or solenoid, whichever part is the one that kicks the motor into gear.
Yeah. Hey man, it's like this. Before we close out this show, it's always going to be get the right musician for the job. Get the right person for the job at that point. Whatever that particular recording or session or gig needs, you need the right position, you need the right musician for the job at that time. So for all you young cats out there, don't just take a guy because he's your friend. That's cool. But if your friend might not be the guy for this particular gig at this particular time. Not that you you don't want him to play, but sometimes you got to go I need to get so-and-so for this man because he's perfect in this situation because we don't have enough time to mess around. He can read, he can capture the music quickly, we can do it. Or you might need a guy over here, depends on how he plays. So you need particular people for particular positions for a particular time. So that's my tip for the day for these young musicians out here, man. Do that. Don't just grab people because they can boogity, 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 boogity. Boogity, boogity might not be what you need when you're playing this ballad. You know what I mean?
I really hope that I can put an emphasis on this last section, the Q&A section, because that's some very valuable advice and some very valuable information, which is what the Old Soul Club is supposed to be about.
Yeah, man.
Now, if we could just get that licensing thing together, do a little bit more research as to how we can play examples of songs without being flagged by the various platforms, then we'll incorporate some of that too. So right now, we're just covering the basics. We're covering the bases. Am I right, Mr. Brown?
Hey, man, we're talking about our experiences and what we know about the music, the little bit that we do know and passing it forward. That's the best thing about the Old Soul Club. Hey, man, thank these people so much for being here today. I want to thank you for listening. I want to thank the Pope of Soul, my man, Phil Redmond, for being on the air with me. I could not do this without him. He's a great guy. He's my friend for 35 years. I love him to death. Great musician. Great arranger, and like I said, he is a part-time pimp on Tuesday, once a month. So, anyway, we're gonna let you guys go today, man. Thank you so much for hanging in there with us. We'll see you next week on the Old Soul Club. Ow! Woo to the good brothers. All right.
Y'all be blessed.